So I think I have a pretty interesting perspective of what it's like to live in Fort Collins. The reason why is I grew up just 30 minutes away in Greeley, Colorado. I lived in Greeley for about 27 years in total. I spent a year in Johnstown, like on the cusp of Loveland, so I pretty much lived in Loveland, right next to Windsor for a year. Fort Collins was always like this magical land compared to living in Greeley. Now that I've lived here for a year and a half, I have, things that I wish I would have just known sooner. It would have given me just so much more peace of mind in, like, I'm normal. I don't need to like those things. If I would have realized these things sooner, it would have helped me acclimate faster, if you will. And I would say that my experience also kind of breaks some perceptions that I've had of Fort Collins growing up. And now I have a much more down to earth perspective of the city. I think Fort Collins does a great job taking care of the city, but I think that there are plenty of reasons why it's not the most amazing now that I'm here. So my name's Elisabeth King. I'm a realtor here in Northern Colorado. I'm going to share with you 7 things I wish I would have known prior to moving to Fort Collins. And I'm also going to rate my experience of living here over the last year and a half on a scale of 1 to 10. So stick around to hear those thoughts. So number 1, I wish I would have realized what exactly the Fort Collins God complex is prior to living here. I knew it was a thing, I just didn't realize it was like this big of a thing. So I also worked in Fort Collins full-time as a real estate assistant, 40 hours a week for 2 years prior to moving here. When people would learn that I'm from Greeley, they would be like, oh, like you're from Greeley, how is that? Are you safe? I experienced that my whole life from like people in Denver, but I hadn't experienced it a ton from people in Fort Collins. And I just experienced like actual judgment from like living in Greeley. People would view it as a small, stinky town. I would say from a numbers perspective, yes, the crime rate has been higher in Greeley, but it's nothing crazy. I grew up there. I would bike ride 3 times a week in my younger years. I lived in downtown Greeley near UNC in the more like unsafe part. I felt safe living there. It really does stink like 1 day a week because of JBS. So, and just the superiority that people feel over other cities living in Fort Collins, like it is a total real thing, and people take pride in being born and raised in Fort Collins. Now, I think that's because, like since Fort Collins has been on the top cities to live in the US and is still ranking up there, people here want you to know that they are born and raised in Fort Collins if you're not from Fort Collins, because it gives them like an extra coolness factor. Even the non-natives, once they've lived here for long enough, they learn like the nomenclature around what it means to live here and what you should and shouldn't say. And it is like a thing to hate on Greeley, Colorado. Point blank, period. It just is. So there you have it. Okay, number 2, people are sincerely snooty about their neighborhoods. And I want to preface this by saying that people take a lot of pride and ownership in their neighborhoods. And I think that is one of the reasons why Fort Collins is such a great city to live in. But at the same time, people are sincerely snooty about their neighborhoods. So you have your different areas of Fort Collins, like Southeast Fort Collins is an area, Midtown Fort Collins, Old Town Fort Collins. There's different areas in Fort Collins, but then there are specific neighborhoods. The neighbors, I've hosted many an open house in Fort Collins. I take pride in my process, and the neighbors will let you know how long they've lived there, why they live there, and all the things that they love about the neighbors. And neighbors know neighbors, so they want to know who's moving in, and there's definitely like a community feel, I would say, within most neighborhoods. People judge their neighborhood against other neighborhoods. It purely is just based off of lifestyle factors. Fossil Lake Ranch, like you are there for the schools, and people are extra snooty in Fossil Lake Ranch because of the schools. The families come in and they're like, we've been looking to move here for the last 3 years, and it's because of the schools, and someday we are going to move here, we're going to narrow in on our house. And then the people who live there, we've lived here for 8 years, and Fossil Lake Ranch has outpaced as far as like equity gain because of the schools, and we've gained so much money, and people will tell you exactly the impact that the neighborhood has had on them. People are snooty about their neighborhoods, but again, it is really all about pride and ownership. Being from out of town, I think so many neighborhoods in Fort Collins are great and have their upsides to living in them. The reasons why that people advocate for, well, they just kind of make sense. Number 3, breweries are basically town halls. Breweries are everywhere. They're your gathering place. I feel like everyone participates in brewery culture. Like brewery culture is a whole thing. Knowing your IPAs or not liking IPAs, like I don't even know. Like I couldn't tell you. I'm not a big drinker, and when I do drink, like I prefer a cocktail. People want to hang out at breweries. So as you make friends and become immersed in the Fort Collins culture, like, oh, we have a real estate training. We're gonna do it at a brewery. Oh, we're gonna meet for like normal hangout. We're gonna do it at a brewery. It's just a thing. It's where people gather and meet. When I first moved here, like I knew it was a thing before moving here, but when I first moved here and started experiencing it even more so, it would make me a bit stressed at first because like number one, like, yeah, I do want to fit in. I do want to connect people. I'm comfortable being myself, but I want to connect. I would feel stressed like going to a brewery, like, oh, like I need to like participate and like get a beer and stuff. And like when I really wouldn't want to. But now that I understand it more, it is so much more about the community, and people are so inviting and accepting. People bring their dogs to breweries, they work out of breweries. It's just a great way to learn about others, be around people who are different from you. I get the brewery culture. Am I like the biggest fan of it? Well, no. If I'm inviting someone out, I'm gonna say like, do you want to go to the Rio? Do you want to go on a walk? Like, do you want to go work out? Brewery culture is a whole thing. Let me tell you right now that if you like beer but aren't like fully immersed in that brewery culture, like you better start learning today. Excuse my cat Poppy. She is being an observing participant right now, and she might be like knocking things around a little bit. Chill out, Poppy. Number 4, the dress code here is for the most part ultra casual. No makeup, carefree. You got your chacos on. Like everyone here is so casual. Dressed up is like my kind of casual. I came straight out of the womb like looking for a pair of heels. I just did. When I was 8 years old, a family friend gave me heels, and I had giant feet because I was supposed to be really tall. I stopped growing. We're still wondering. The shoes that were given to me fit me, and a lot of them were like 3-4 inch heels. I was like, well, these are mine now. They were gifted to me. And I would wear them, and my dad would get so ticked off. I was out here being a supermodel, right? Fort Collins is not where people go to wear heels. It is where people come to wear Patagonia and athleisure. I love athleisure. I'm a workout girly. I love a good matching set. Even like in my athletic wear, like I like to like be dressed up and like put together. I'm just like a put together person. It's when I feel my best. It's when I'm at my best is when I'm just the way that I want to be, which is put together. The ultra casual, like I sincerely had to get used to feeling overdressed. If I'm going out, yeah, sure. Invite me to the brewery. I'll come, and I'm gonna wear my leather pants. So there you have it. Number 5, everyone here rides bikes. Maybe not everyone. I have been around many a conversation, whether it be at the real estate office, around friends, even my boyfriend. Everyone here rides a bike, and people buy expensive bikes. Like not only is it a thing to bike ride, whether that be mountain biking or just like you don't use your car that much, you just ride your bike all over town. There are a ton of people here who don't own cars. They ride their bike everywhere. And that's because Fort Collins has been rated the #1 most bike-friendly city in the country, which is fantastic. Trail systems in Fort Collins outperform the rest of them. They just do. It's super bike-friendly. It is safer to bike here. That attracts a lot of people who like to bike. It's like totally a popularity contest to own the best bike that has like all the things. Like I can't tell you about bikes either. I enjoy bike riding, and I have my little like $200 bike, and I'll take it out on some trails. I don't like wearing a helmet because it ruins my hair, so I do not want to bike around town. I want to live a good long life. If you move here, if you live here, you will eventually learn all about bikes. You might not retain the information, but you're going to learn about it, and you might even buy an expensive bike yourself and start riding up and down some mountains. Like, who knows? Number 6, it is expensive. Period. It's very expensive to live here. So when I first moved to Fort Collins, I had separated from my previous partner a while before, was in the process of selling the house that I owned with my previous partner. I was doing the whole real estate thing, and so I moved here and elected to have roommates. I'm glad I made the decision to. And with that being said, the room that I rented was $800 a month, and then you had utilities stacked on top of that. And it was in a teeny tiny 1,100 square foot house. It is expensive to live here. As far as I've heard, the cost of living is only going up. Things are only getting more expensive. A 1-bedroom apartment, a comfortable 800 square foot One bedroom, $1,900. Small one bedroom, $1,699, I think is what I just saw. So very expensive to live here. Your studios are running $1,500 to $1,600 a month. You can find some options that are a little bit less than that, but it's just expensive, and seasonality really impacts the rental rates as well. Your average price house is, inching towards $600,000. It's very expensive to buy a house here. I don't think that Fort Collins is necessarily friendly for first-time home buyers unless you are bringing in like $200,000 a year to start. So then you can get into like a $600,000 detached residential home and be in a neighborhood where you will still build a decent amount of equity. I find that the detached residential houses that are closer to that $500,000 mark, the reason why they're there is because they do not appreciate as fast as the rest of the area. There are different neighborhoods in Fort Collins that just appreciate at a faster rate. I mean, that's how every city works, but I see that more in Fort Collins, where there is a wide range of home prices. That lower range, you're getting a house that's either very small, maybe doesn't have a garage, maybe has a one-car garage. People move here for the lifestyle and for the quality of life, but at the same time, you still want to love the place you live in, and it still needs to be ideal for your familial needs or your single person needs, like whatever that might be. For your younger folk that are still fortunate enough to get into housing, right? The average age for your home buyer is like 40 years old now in 2025. And so for your younger person getting into buying a home, I just think that because of the expense and the cost of living in Fort Collins, you just don't know if the sacrifice in your living space is worth living in the city. Go buy in a nearby city like Greeley, buy a big old house for $500,000 and see the fruits of that, because it appreciates at a higher rate than your $500,000 townhome, $400,000 townhome that costs the same on a monthly basis. Stack your cash, build your bank over 10 years, and then if you still want to live here, like move here. For expense, if you're frugal, you're gonna spend more money living in Fort Collins. And the big reason for that is housing. Restaurants and entertainment do also cost more here as well. Okay, number 7, and the final thing that I realized but I didn't fully realize, is that Horsetooth and the Horsetooth culture. I keep saying culture, but that's exactly what it is. Like, there's just these like little like pockets. You have like niche people and the niche things that they like to do in Fort Collins, and Horsetooth is one of them. So Horsetooth is a reservoir in West Fort Collins. How big is Horsetooth? I've been coming to Horsetooth for a very long time. Again, grew up 30 minutes from Fort Collins, but Horsetooth Reservoir is 6.5 miles long. It really is fantastic. I love hiking up to Horsetooth Rock. There's trails that go beyond. You have Laurie State Park next to Horsetooth. You can paddleboard, you can boat. Sometimes there's these like big party floaties, and it's just a whole thing. And it is a lot of fun, but people are so serious about Horsetooth, like the locals. Like, you have popularity contests. I have been around many a conversation with grown men standing in a circle talking about who owns what boat, whose boat is bigger, whose boat is faster, and what truck they have to pull it, and how big their truck is, and the cost of these things, and then like doing your seasonal maintenance, and like putting like, oh, like last ride for the summer, like all the things. I've been around many a conversation pertaining to boats, and hey, are you taking the boat up to Horsetooth this weekend? And it's a whole thing. I myself totally bought into Horsetooth culture. I own 2 paddle boards, and I love going paddleboarding. Just quick hop and a skip, go down to Santanca Cove, have my cute little paddleboard journey. However, if you go on the weekends, you literally have to get there at like 7 a.m. now to not be fighting for a parking spot, because going to Horsetooth is such a popular social status thing to do on the weekends. People then purchase their toys and compare. So if you move to Fort Collins, you might find yourself on Horsetooth Reservoir. You might find yourself buying a boat or a paddleboard. I wouldn't be surprised. Not only do you need to worry about the cost of living, but like, you need to be prepared to buy your bike. You need to be prepared to buy your chacos and your Patagonia. You need to be prepared to buy your boat and your truck. You need to be prepared to live in the best neighborhood and to be able to explain why you live there so you really fit in with the neighbors. So those are my 7 things that I have learned that I wish I would have known, like on a greater, higher level before living in Fort Collins, even though I grew up in Colorado. Okay, quick outfit change. I did it for the video. Just kidding. I pressed stop. I thought I did my job and I was like, great, nailed that. I didn't even tell you how I would rate living in Fort Collins on a scale of 1 to 10. So, rating living in Fort Collins on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm rating living in Fort Collins a 7 out of 10. The reason why I can't give it a higher score for me personally is just because of how expensive it is to live here and the cost of living. I see myself living in Fort Collins for the foreseeable future. Again, I think there's so many reasons why to live here, but if you're not bought into the culture, or if you're not going to buy into the culture and you are moving here from a different place, like let's say out of state, I think that there are so many great neighboring cities and awesome neighborhoods in Windsor, in Greeley, Colorado, in Loveland, Colorado, and places that just aren't Fort Collins, where you can save, be very financially well, get over here super fast, and still enjoy all the things that Fort Collins has to offer. Fun fact, if you've made it this far, Weld County, which is where Johnstown, Windsor, Greeley are, Weld County is going to see a surplus, an influx of 200,000 people over the next 20-25 years, and it is going to outpace Larimer County, the county that Loveland and Fort Collins is in. As far as financial wellness and potential equity gain, I think that that's a big reason to consider purchasing in another area that's not Fort Collins. I'm waiting for the cat food dispenser to stop dispensing so I can continue. Okay. If Fort Collins is your spot, come over to Fort Collins. We'd love to have you. It's a great city, and the city does a great job using its tax dollars to take care of it. My name is Elisabeth King. I'm a realtor here serving Fort Collins, Greeley, Windsor, Loveland, Colorado, Timnath, like the whole northern Colorado area. I have professional training. I was an assistant for 2 years before becoming an agent. And if you are thinking about moving to Fort Collins or anywhere in the northern Colorado region, I'd be happy to help you figure out what city, what neighborhood is right for you, even if that means finding the right rental to start. So go ahead and click the link below if you want to set up a consultation with me. Thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe. Comment the things that you've heard about Fort Collins or why you might be considering moving to Colorado, and we'll see you in the next video. Also, since I have you here, what do you guys think of my ceiling? I designed that. Can you believe? I really like it.